What's going on, my dudes? Chensley11 here, and welcome back to another episode in the A to Z series, where we are going through every single champion in League of Legends and giving a basic or beginner's guide on each of them. In today's episode, we're going to be showing you how to play Master Yi jungle for beginners. So we're going to be going through all of Master Yi's runes, his build, and most importantly, as always, his abilities. So if you're familiar with the series, we go through all the stuff I just mentioned. We're going to be going through tips and advice as well. We have a game that we recorded. This is a replay of a game. Fortunately, I recorded the game live as me playing as I normally do, but the recording failed. So we're just going to be recording basically a replay, which is not ideal. But as I always say, the gameplay is not super important. It's just a guide to help direct some things as we watch. It's a particularly good game that we had the other day. So I hope you enjoy the game. But most importantly, we're going to be going through all his build and his runes and his abilities as well. So if you do enjoy, hit the like button, helps out a lot. Leave a comment of any questions you may have down below. I reply to all the comments. And if you do enjoy this and want to see other videos, hit the subscribe button because we do have guides like this on the channel already. We are almost halfway through all the champions in League of Legends. So Master Yi jungler, basically one of the bread and butter junglers every beginner should learn. I think he's extremely fun to play. He's called Mr. Pentakill for his absolute destruction in teamfight cleanup. He has basically minimal mechanics, and what I mean by that is he's easy to play for beginners, like mechanically, like how to pull him off. The one thing that makes Master Yi difficult is you need a little bit of jungle knowledge, okay? And that will come if you keep playing Master Yi. So what I'm normally do when I'm playing a jungle is I'm going to explain the first clear, and then we'll get into going through all the runes, build, and abilities. But basically, Master Yi, very strong champion at once you hit level 6. So again, with those champions, similar to the Evelyn video, you want to start with a full clear, and we want to power farm to level 6. So we start red buff, get the leash from your support and ADC, go down to Krugs, then go to the chickens or the Razorbeaks. Prefer to call them the chickens. Then wolves, then your blue buff, then your Gromp. Now you see in this particular game, the Kha'Zix, I saw he took Ignite in the pre-game loading screen, and he's already waiting to try and cheese me at my blue buff, and he's taking my blue buff and he's waiting. Now, he's only taken his red buff and now my blue buff, so he's only level 2, which means we have a level advantage. But remember, he has his passive, which gives him bonus damage against isolated targets, plus he's got Ignite. So chances are I'm going to lose that 1v1. So I know that as soon as I see him, and I react accordingly. And what you will see is I place a ward early level 1 and then change to the so you can see here, he ignites and I just flash away. Because I want to just play this safe. What I should do in this situation is not worry about my top side. I could call my KO to come and help, but again, KO is not a very strong early game champion. Now looking back at this, obviously I couldn't see his health bar and that. I could have definitely gone and killed him, but that's okay. I played it safe. Master Yi is all about just getting to level 6 safely, and you'll see we'll reap the dividends of that later on in the game. So I pick up a couple items. I think I got like a little bit of AD, and then I go straight for his blue buff, Scuttle Crab, and his Gromp. So I end up getting my full clear anyway, and I'm just ahead of him in time and tempo and levels and gold, right? So he went for the all-in kill play. He didn't get it, so we end up coming out ahead. Even though he's kind of put us both behind, but he's himself behind more. You see here, I just hover just in case the Fizz goes all in the Katarina and make sure we get that absolutely one-shot the Scuttle Crab. So that's the full clear. After you full clear, you can go back to your bottom side of your camps, and you'll see that our Krugs are now respawning, and we can go back into another full clear as quickly as possible. So remember, Master Yi, full clearing, get to level 6 as fast as you can. You can gank pre-6 if it's free. When I mean by free, the enemy lane is pushed up super far, and like your laner has a good hard CC. That's like a free gank because they can CC them out of position, and then you can walk up to them and kill them. All right, so that's the full clear, guys. Now, what I normally do at the beginning of these videos is give a quick, brief explanation of all the abilities at the start, very fast, so you know what I'm doing when I'm clearing the jungle. Now, the Q Alpha Strike, you basically go invisible and just strike all enemies around you. And then when you come out of it, they all just pop and take damage. That's your main clearing tool. You start that level 1. We'll go through the levels of what you start, what level you take every ability as well in a moment. W is a channeled like healing ability. So you stand still and you meditate and you channel and you get health back. While you're channeling the healing, you also gain damage resistance. So you take less damage. Now the E just makes your auto attacks deal true damage. And then the ultimate, which is basically Super Saiyan mode, it gives you slow resist. It gives you bonus attack speed, bonus movement speed. Basically, you pop that before you're about to get into a fight because it gives you bonus stats. Movement speed, attack speed. And it's very, very good. So that's a basic introduction to all the abilities. But we will go through them all in a lot more detail in a moment. So, let's talk about the level up order while we're just clearing the jungle. Again, pre-6, just clear the jungle as much as you can. Be aware for any scraps because sometimes, and you'll see it's about to happen, be aware of any scraps because you can't just power farm and let your team just get absolutely destroyed and you're just not doing anything. And you can see here, it's a 2v1. My bot lane have pinged there on their way. So I'm just waiting, being very patient. We pop the Oracle Lens to get vision of them. And we go kind of in. Akshan sees us. He engages on us. So now my enemy bot lane have been baited. So now we have a 3v2 with my mid laner because their Fizz decided to leave. Now, as soon as their Fizz left, these two should have left as well, but they stayed. And we just get an absolute free kill. Opportunistic kill, just being patient and getting free gold. That's basically what you can do before 6. Don't try to force anything too much pre-6 because you might lose the fight. And Master Yi is all about getting safely to your level 6 power spike, get your first item and start rolling the game. And we also get a dragon out of it. Unfortunately, I think my mid laner dies to 1v1 as Yumi tries to do something. But that's okay. We end up getting 2 kills and a dragon for 1, which is very, very worth. Alright, so let's go through the level up order. So level 1, as I mentioned earlier, you take Q. Q is your bread and butter for clearing your camps. Level 2, you take E. Now, on the graphic I'm going to show you, it says take level 3, take W. Now, you can do that if you like to use your W often. You can use your W as an auto attack reset, which is kind of weird to do, but you can do it. However, personally, what I do is I take a second point into Q level 3. It just helps with clearing the jungle faster because I really never use my W on my first clear. In this particular game where I got invaded, maybe the W would have been more useful, but that's fine. I normally just take Q. Usually I don't get invaded. So Q level 3, and then take your W level 4, and then max your Q, and then max your E, and then max your W last, and then take a point in your ultimate whenever you can. When I say max, I mean take a point in that ability whenever you can. So whenever you can, take a point in your Q. You want to level that up as high as you can, as fast as you can. Then E second, W third. Okay, so that's that. So next, we're going to go through the runes. So the runes on Master Yi are quite simple. You want to take Lethal Tempo, which gives attack speed. Now, the reason why attack speed is fantastic on Master Yi is because of his passive, which we'll go through in a moment. Basically, your passive gives you, after a few auto attacks, your next auto attack attacks twice, so bang, bang. So attack speed will make that proc faster. So that's one reason why it's very good and synergizes with Master Yi. Secondly, all your items are basically on-hit items. On-hit means whenever you auto attack, something happens with the auto attack. So on-hit damage means you auto attack, you deal your physical damage when you hit someone, plus you're dealing on-hit damage on top of that. So that's why Lethal Tempo is fantastic, because the more often you hit, the more often you're applying on-hit. Triumph, takedowns restore your missing health and grant you some more gold. Master Yi, fantastic with golds. Super scale champion, you need items, you need gold, fantastic. Legend Alacrity gives you, again, more attack speed. Coup de Grace, deal more damage to champions at low health. More like assassin-y kind of Master Yi, which is fantastic at 1v1ing. Master Yi is the ultimate 1v1 champion, so he's very, very good at that. Before we go into the second half of the runes, this is a perfect gank. This is what you need to do when you play Master Yi to gank. So you pop the Oracle Lens, so the Fizz doesn't know we're coming. We get in behind him, and we use our ultimate and start running at him. We pop our E, and we start running at him. Don't ever, never, ever open up with your Q. That's the biggest mistake you can make on Master Yi. If I walk up to the Fizz and just Q him straight away, he waits for me to come out of my Alpha Strike and then E's away or flashes away. If we wait for his nice flash from the Katarina, if we wait for him to use his gap close or his escape, then we can follow with the Q and stay on top of him, which is what we did there, and kill him under his own tower. So that's how you gank as Master Yi. So that's a nice tip for you guys learning the champion. So back to the runes. Domination, secondary tree. You want to go Eyeball Collection and Treasure Hunter. Bit more gold in the Treasure Hunter. Then you want to go attack speed, flex, which is adaptive force, and then armor. So you can see here we're a bit greedy trying to take a jungle camp. So we go in. We're going to use our W kit for damage mitigation to get our cooldown back on our Q. As soon as we get our Q cooldown back, we use it, kill the Kha'Zix, and then flash over the wall, which is why I love flash personally. And we'll go through the summoner spells in a moment when we go through the build. And you can see here, I popped my ultimate and I went looking for the Akshan, and I remember thinking, where the hell is this guy? And look how close we were to going into that circle. I'm very disappointed. That's really hard to watch. I was like, where the fuck did he go? I had no idea. I went looking for him in my jungle. He ends up getting away and we just go back to farming. So anyway, guys, that's the runes. We're going to go through the build now. And I'll explain Flash, why I take Flash. Personally, I love Flash. You saw in that situation how we can get over the wall there. For me, Flash is a get-out-of-jail-free card. It's also good to get on top of people that have like double escapes if you've already used your Q. And I just like the repositioning aspect of Flash. I've always used Flash. I'm always a big lover of Flash, so I always take it. However, you don't need to take Flash or Master Yi because of your Q. You can take Ignite, you can take Ghost. Ignite is fantastic into champions like if you're versing a Lee Sin or a Xin Zhao, who are very strong early game junglers, so you might need the Ignite to 1v1 them early if you get to that. However, Flash also works. That's why I take Flash. Now, for the items themselves, I go Ember Knife. I personally like the 1v1 aspect of the Ember Knife. Refillable Potion. Stealth Ward. As I said, place that first Stealth Ward in the Pixel Brush on the top, like I did at the beginning of the video. You can go back and have a look if you missed it. And then change to Oracle Lens. For me, Oracle Lens is a must on Master Yi because you're a melee champion. You need to get in behind them. So you need to block off the vision. You need to be invisible before you go in for the gank. Otherwise, you won't be able to gank. Okay, so then the first item is Kraken Slayer that I build. And then Berserker Greaves. Now, early items, what I will recommend is getting your Noon Quiver first when you can. And then Boots. Make sure you pick up Boots as early as you can. Boots are very, very good on Master Yi. Because you're a power farm, you need to get around the map fast. And because you need them to... just watch this fight play out and I'll explain the fight. So we end up getting a nice pick on the Kha'Zix and the Fizz. And then I go back in like an absolute monkey and get absolutely smashed. So the good thing about watching your own replays is you can have a look at mistakes you made. I got a little bit too hyped there. Got the 2 kills. Thought, I still got my ultimate going. Got the resets. Let's go all in again. I've killed 2 of them. Let's go for 4. Make a big play for the video. But unfortunately we die. So... I could have got out there and gone for 2 for 1 and it would have been fantastic. But unfortunately, I went in again, gave a massive shutdown to Akshan, which was terrible. So back to the build. Noon Quiver and then Boots early. Boots, because Master Yi's melee, you want to be getting on top of champions and it'll help your clearing faster. So Boots is fantastic. And then you want to go Kraken Slayer, Berserker's Greaves, Rageblade. However, you can try a different build, which I have seen, and it's also fantastic, which is where you rush Blade of the Ruined King first, and then you want to go Boots, and then Rageblade, and then you can go Shield Bow. Either work well. The one I'm showing you right now is just the one I recommend. It's just the most popular. The Blade of the Ruined King rush is also a very good build, and both will work very well. If you're unsure with the build, check what's currently the meta, because builds change. The next patch, one of the items could be getting nerfed and then it changes the build, right? So, you know, the build is not most important. I'm just going to be telling you what the build is for this video. And then we go Death's Dance, and then Wit's End, and then Blade of the Ruined King as your last item. Then some other items you may consider Guardian Angels to cut back alive, passive. Maybe a Mortal Bind if they have a lot of healing, right? So you always got to be thinking about what the enemy is going on with the enemy and adjust your build accordingly. All right, so that's everything I wanted to get through. Now we can focus on the abilities themselves. So first, before I start with the abilities, I just want to mention the game quickly. Just mention what's happened in the game. Basically, I haven't done anything too amazing. But yeah, I'm extremely fed. Simply because I've been patient and I've been opportunistic, got 3 kills. Basically, that's how you want to play Master Yi. Like, if you want to go super aggressive, you need to know when to do it. But again, once you're fed like this, I can basically run around the map and just absolutely destroy everything. Remember to keep your farm up, because if you stop farming and then fail to get kills, or your teammates get the kills, you get the assists, you will start to fall behind. So remember to pick up your camps on the way through. We use our scrying orb. Unfortunately, we just walked over a ward. The Kha'Zix is out of range, and then so we open up with our Q, which is the only time you want to open up with your Q. Unfortunately for him, what he did mistake was he used his gap closer or his escape while I was inside of him with my Alpha Strike. So when he jumped away, we still stayed with him. And then we ended up doing the same kind of thing to the Singed, but we used our flash. Maybe didn't need to use our flash, but that's okay. We get another kill. We're going to get a tower here as well. So absolutely stomping this game. Let's go through the passive. As we mentioned earlier, it's called Double Strike. Master Yi's basic attacks grant a stack of Double Strike for 4 seconds, stacking up to 3 times. The duration refreshes upon subsequent hits. And then at 3 stacks, his next basic attack hits twice. So that is fantastic. The second attack does 50% physical damage, but the second attack applies on hit at 100% effectiveness, which is obviously extremely important because we're building a lot of on hit. So remember, at the start of the game, while we're building so much attack speed and on hit, more attack speed, more on hits we apply. The more attack speed, the more of our passive we can get off, which applies more on hit. So everything synergizes together. We want to attack as fast as we can. When you play Master Yi. Master Yi is basically a melee version of an ADC, like a bot laner, marksman. He's just a sword version. So you need to get on top of people to apply your damage. But once you do, you absolutely demolish targets. Master Yi can just one-shot things and can absolutely shred tanks as well with the right build. So that's why I highly recommend learning him. And you have a lot of fun and carry a lot of games out of the jungle. He is a very high carry jungler, and I would definitely recommend to pick him up. Especially if you're new, because he's very easy to play. What else I want to say? Yep. So if the target is killed before the second strike of the passive can apply, Master Yi will just hit a close target nearby. So you can see here we got a 2v2. Me and the Samira are fed. Their Rel and their Singed aren't, so we're definitely going to win this 2v2. She picks up one, we pick up the other, and then we go on to the Kha'Zix who's trying to help. We go into the bush, we pop our meditation, we wait for our Q to come off cooldown, and absolutely one-shot him. Easy peasy, guys. Fantastic. Once you're fed, Master Yi looks super easy to play. Again, straight back into farming. Alright, so that's the passive. Remember, the passive can also critically strike towers as well, which is a little smaller side. So now we're going to go through the Alpha Strike, which is Master Yi's most bread and butter ability. Like it is Master Yi, it's his identity. So Master Yi vanishes, okay? And while he vanishes, he's striking targets. If there's 4 targets, he'll strike all of them. If there's 1, he'll strike the same target. I think it's like 3 or 4 times. I can't quite remember. When he strikes a target, he marks them. If he strikes a target that's already been marked, he hits them with a little bit of damage each time he hits them. Once he comes out of the Alpha Strike, the target, all the marks are popped, and they all take a burst of physical damage. Now, and that also applies on hit too. So what does this mean? Basically, you cast your Q on the target you want to do your most damage to. You go on top of them and you start dealing damage to them. And then you come out of your Alpha Strike on top of them. So if they get away, you still stay with them. So that's why Alpha Strike is fantastic for gap closing. And it's also fantastic for dodging abilities. Because you go invisible and vulnerable, if they're about to hit you with a big CC or a big ability, you can Q and just dodge everything. That is the only hard part about Master Yi, learning the Q. Once you can see here, if I queued a minion while that shark was about to hit me, I would not have died there. Okay, so that's a big mistake for myself. That's the only mechanic you need to learn. I could have queued before the shark hit me, or the bait hit me rather, that fizzed through, or I could have queued just before the shark came up and bit my ass, and I wouldn't have taken any damage. So that's basically the Q. Very, very simple ability. I'll have an example on the top left as always. I will put the stats and information on the screen as always. It's quite a long read. It's a bit of an essay about what the Q does, but it is worth a read. But basically, your Alpha Strike does on-hit damage, it does physical damage. It also applies on-hit. Now, Basic attacks also reduce your Q's cooldown. So you want to open up with your Q, auto attack, auto attack, auto attack, Q again. You want to be queuing off cooldown as much as you can. You want to be using your E off cooldown as much as you can. Very easy champion to play. Now, when you're using your E and your ultimate, while you Q, those two cooldowns, because they have like a duration that ticks down, while you're using your Q, they pause. So you're not wasting those abilities while you're queuing. So don't think that as well. So that's something else to know if you didn't know that. So that's the Q, guys. Very simple ability. Fantastic. There it is there on the chickens if you wanted to see. Okay, now we're going to go through Meditate, which is Master Yi's second ability. Basically, Master Yi channels for 4 seconds, healing himself every 0.5 seconds. You heal more the lower health you are. While channeling, Master Yi gains damage resistance, so you take less damage. And that's basically it. The Meditate can also be used as an auto attack reset, but it's not super important to learn how to do that when you're really beginner. The main thing with the W is to use it as like a stalling tactic, to wait for the enemies to stop. Like if they're attacking, you can use it to stall, and then you go back in with your Q and start resetting everything. So that's the W. Next, we're going to go through the E. Again, these abilities, I'm not trying to race through them. They're just extremely simple to understand. So I hope you understand them. Again, any comments, leave them down below. Wuju Style, Master Yi's E. One of the easiest abilities ever. Master Yi empowers his sword, causing his basic attacks to do true damage. So, on hit for 5 seconds. There's nothing special about this ability. Use it off cooldown. Whenever you have it, use it if you're in a fight. Obviously, don't just randomly pump it when you're just doing nothing. Whenever you're in a fight, use your E straight away. It'll just increase your damage output. True damage cuts through enemies' health without getting affected with armor or magic resist, okay? And last but not least, we're going to go through Master Yi's ultimate, which is called Highlander. Highlander has a passive and active. So passive, scoring a champion kill reduces the current cooldown of Master Yi's abilities by 70%. So if you get a kill while your ultimate is active, all your cooldowns reset. So basically, it's kind of like Katarina. So you can then go in for your Q and then get heaps of resets and just go nuts and end up getting pentakills. That's why Master Yi is the pentakill king, because of that passive component of his ultimate. The active component is Master Yi cleanses himself of all slows, cripples, and gains ghosting. So he becomes slow immune. He cleanses all the slows. You can see here we go in and we just absolutely just watch this fight as I explain the ultimate. It just absolutely destroy everything. Use your Q off cooldown, use your E off cooldown, and just demolish everything. So you cleanse yourself of all your slows. Cripples. Now, cripples are abilities that slow your own attack speed. So you can't get your attack speed slow if you have popped your ultimate, Highlander. And you gain ghosting, which allows you to run through enemy units without, wiggling around them. You just run straight through them. You can go straight through them, like Fizz can, or I think Kassadin can as well. So, and then you gain bonus attack speed, you gain bonus movement speed, you get slow immunity, and you get cripple immunity for the next 7 seconds. Scoring a kill or a takedown extends Highlander's duration by 7 seconds. That's basically it, guys. That's all Master Yi's abilities. Very, very simple champion. What are the combos? Walk in, auto attack them if you can. If they're too far, use your Q, use your E off cooldown, use your Q off cooldown. Pop your ultimate before you start the fight. That'll ensure it's on the whole time. If you get a kill during that fight, it'll extend the duration. Remember, the ultimate gives you attack speed and movement speed, which will help you get on top of targets and kill them faster. Master Yi is essentially unstoppable when he has his items. So once you build up all your items, you are an absolute monster and you can shred team fights. Fortunately, this game, I had other people on my team that were also fed, so we didn't even have to try that hard. This game, we didn't do anything too special. We literally just... I nearly got killed by the Fizz there. That wasn't actually played very well by myself. We're just that fed that it didn't matter. But yeah, guys. I didn't do anything particularly outstanding this game. There was the one good gank on the Fizz and one good decent gank on the Singed on the top side where we also killed the Kazakhs. But the enemy surrender and we get a victory. So it wasn't a very tough game. Again, any questions, leave them down below. We absolutely stomped this game. In hindsight, what could I have done better this game? If you want to talk about the game, we could have focused less on the Dragons, got the Rift Heralds. Would have helped snowball the game faster because we were ahead early. We didn't need the Dragons, essentially. We could have won the game without the Dragons. Dragons are a nice safety net if you're worried about getting outscaled. So you, the game's kind of even and you want to have that late game security. If you're really snowballing, get the Rift Herald, start cracking towers open, give gold to everyone on your team so they win more fights, you get more gold, and then so on and so forth. You understand snowballing. But that's it, guys. Very, very simple champion. I would highly recommend Master Yi to pick up. Easy to play mechanically, easy to understand. His abilities are easy to understand, obviously. And he's fun, guys. He's so fun once you understand what he can do. The only thing, if you're a beginner, I would suggest that you learn is pick up the Q, when to Q. You need to know, it relies on knowing the champion you're trying to kill. If you know the champion has a big cooldown that you need to dodge, you've got to wait and be very patient with that Q and then use it as they use it if it's like a targeted skill shot. So let's say we're trying to kill the Zereth or like a Vigar. We want to wait for them to use that ability that's going to hit us, like the ultimate on Vigar or the Zereth stun. Then we Q, so we go invulnerable and we don't get hit with the CC. And if you're doing that to enemies, and if you're on the receiving end of that, it can be extremely frustrating because you cannot hit him because he's invisible and invulnerable. However, Master Yi, I will tell you his greatest weakness. Don't tell anyone, but his greatest weakness is CC. So if you want to kill the Master Yi, just lock him down and you'll be able to burst straight through him as a team if you're coming up against him. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, hit the like button if you did enjoy. Hit the subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this. I hope you did enjoy. I had a lot of fun making this video. Master Yi is a very fun champion to play. Any comments you leave down below, again, I will reply. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take it easy.